Hey everyone, Selena here, founder, host, lead educator with the American Crochet Association. I'm also the writer behind Selena Vaca Crochet. So if you are watching live, come on over, say hey, say hello, tell me where you're viewing from. I just gave a huge update, lots of formatting changes to a crochet pattern that I first wrote and published back in November 2012. So she's a little old, but I have given this a ton of updates, and I just wanted to scroll through it, show you guys what it is, where you can find it, and just make sure nobody's missing out on this pattern because it's, like I said, it's an oldie but a goodie. So this is the button up crochet cowl. And again, I wrote this like, oh my gosh, what, 11 years ago now? And the reason I wrote this pattern is that I used to be really focused on teaching people how to crochet. I've always liked writing patterns, so I would try to combine the two together. And as I was teaching crochet, if one of my students wanted to make something specifically, but they were learning and they were a beginner, I'd always try to craft some kind of pattern around whatever their skill set was and whatever they were trying to learn was something that they wanted to make. And this is one of those patterns. So this is totally a beginner-friendly pattern. And it uses super basic stitches, so just the basics. Here, let's kind of scroll down. I'll show you guys some more of it. Lots of information. So it uses just basic stitches, so chain, single crochet, half double crochet, and it does use the back loop only, which whenever you're a beginner and you're learning, I always thought it was really important that you learn some of the basic stitches in tandem, and that way you could really tell them apart. So, after you kind of learn the basics, the chain, the single, the half double, the double, sometimes it's great to have a project where you're using all of those stitches together. And that way you can really kind of count and differentiate. But then it's nice to throw in new things. So the things that are new here that are great for beginners is that this uses the back loop only. So it's really just another great lesson in showing like, hey, in a stitch, you've got the front loop and the back loop, and this is what it looks like when you work through both of them. But this pattern says we're going to work through the back loop only. So why would we do that? What does that look like? So it really shows how you can create so much more texture and, perceivably this completely different stitch texture and completely different look just by using something like the back loop only. This pattern uses super bulky weight 6 yarn, so it gives beginners a project quicker just because the yarn is so big. So they're able to walk away with something, after probably just a few sessions of working on it. So it just further helps them remember how to count their stitches, how to identify them, and then within just a few stitches and a few rows, they've got a finished project. So it's not something that they're working on forever. This project also comes in a few different sizes. So very specifically, this is worked, by chaining first, and the amount that you chain is going to give you the length of this cowl, and then the width is worked in rows. So however many rows you add on to it, that's just going to give you further bulk around the neck because it's a cowl. So that's another great lesson for beginners, because sometimes they're like, what are these parentheses? Why are there so many parentheses and numbers? What does that mean? So it's a great introduction to reading a crochet pattern that does give one set of instructions or one bulk piece of instructions, but there's really just small adjustments to make different sizes. Like, for example, there's 4 different sizes here. So maybe it's chain X for this size, chain, Y for this size. So, why are you chaining different amounts? So it just kind of helps you to teach them how to read a crochet pattern that has that. Also, as you guys can see here, there are buttons on this pattern, and those buttons are functional. So whenever you're creating this fabric, it's not just one stitch throughout. There's careful placement of where those buttons go. So that's part of the finishing section of this pattern. So that's just one more thing that you're teaching beginners how to do. But also it's attaching those buttons to the fabric, but then utilizing the buttonholes. You are creating buttonholes in the fabric. So you're teaching them how to read a pattern that is different every other row. So it's not just the same thing over and over again. It's teaching them, again, it's really crucial counting stitches here because those buttonholes have to line up. And that's, again, just something that makes this pattern functional. So lots of really cool elements to help beginners learn aspects of crochet. You know, those foundational elements of just learning stitches, learning how to count and identify them, learning a specialty stitch that teaches them you can place stitches in you can work stitches into different aspects of a stitch and how different your fabric can look. You know, every other row is a completely different, or not completely different, but you know, it's different. It's a different pattern just to create those buttonholes, so it gets a little tricky. Yeah, and then again, it's worked with this super bulky yarn, so it teaches people, you know, the yarn that you make creates stitches, the stitches create fabric, and, you know, did you choose the best yarn to make something that's going to be around your neck? Is it comfortable? So many different elements to this. Great pattern. So I've updated this to my new format that I am sharing. Oh, hold on. Why is it so funky? There we go. That's less funky. Okay. Sometimes technology works. Sometimes she's tricky. So again, you know, I write patterns under the name Selena Baca Crochet. You can find me on Ravelry. And I take some of those patterns and I share them to be viewed for free at the American Crochet Association. And my goal with that is to make sure that these patterns, or I specifically choose patterns that can be teaching tools. So any pattern that you see here, there's some kind of element that will help you learn something about crochet. And so I'm doing a better job of just outlining all of those different learning elements. So for example, with the button-up crochet cowl, I talk about what a cowl is, who this cowl is suited for, key takeaways when you know, why would you make this cowl, and what are some tips and some tricks and things like that. How I selected yarn for this, what yarn I selected, how you can substitute if you want to, sizing options, how many different sizes are there, how you can alter the size, what it means to alter the size. If you want some project inspiration, for example, if you want to see other finished projects, I've got linked resources for that. You know, specialty stitches, what is this specialty stitch? How do you work it? If you are brand new to crochet and you're like, even this is too advanced for me, I want to teach myself crochet, but you know, there's too much in here. I do have some basics for beginners that you guys can check out. And if you like this cowl pattern, I have other cowl patterns you guys can view. You guys can get a PDF on Ravelry. Here's all the different parts of the pattern that you can just jump right to, or the instructions. So for example, if you are just ready to jump into this pattern, look how cool that is. I love when I can make technology work for me and it just does things like that. So anyway, better experience all around, information that's helpful. So you can either read through the information that's helpful to you, or you can just kind of click and skip around to get to the parts that you're interested in. All right, I see a few of you guys are here today. I've got construction going on, so that's why it sounds like there's an angry bee outside my window. There it is. Angela, so good to see you. Thank you for checking in. That cowl looks cozy. Yeah, I really love this cowl. It turned out so much better than I had hoped. I love when I create things that are quick, that are easy, that will teach you a few things, and they're things that you actually like to wear. The thing that I like about cowls is that scarves look great in terms of like looking great in pictures and things like that. Love scarves. I love the look of them. I love creating them, but sometimes I don't want all that extra fabric. Sometimes depending on what I'm doing, I don't want all that extra fabric, especially if I'm going to be doing lots of things or bending over or moving a lot. Sometimes the extra pieces of fabric just kind of get in the way. So what I love about a cowl is it's something you can just kind of put on, you button on, it stays in place, but it keeps you warm like a scarf would. So it's just kind of that quick, easy project if you do want that bit of warmth, but you don't want all that extra fabric. Dawn Tennyson, so good to see you. And of course, my friend Angelica is here. Good to see you too. Thanks for checking in. All right, guys, so that's everything I wanted to tell you about the button-up cowl. I hope you like it. It has been around for a while. So the great thing about that is that we've got tons of projects you can go back and look at, so you can see how this project looks in a heathered yarn, a variegated yarn, a self-striping yarn, you know, People change colors every other round if they want to. Different kinds of yarn, different types of yarn, different brands of yarn. So it's really kind of fun to have all of that access to all of the different projects that people have made through the years. And again, it's a great teaching tool. So whether you're teaching yourself to crochet or you know someone who wants to learn crochet and they're looking for projects to kind of help guide them and build their skills, that's exactly why I made this. So please tag a crochet friend in the comments if you think they'll dig this pattern, and do me a solid, share this video or this pattern or both in at least one place where you enjoy crochet if you think they will dig this too. And in the meantime, if you guys do work up this button-up crochet cowl, come on over and share it in any of my communities, especially the American Crochet Association community. We would love to see what you've done, what you've worked on, what you're doing. And, you know, it just helps us be part of an ever-growing community together. All right, everybody, that's all I got for you guys today. So final shout out to Angelica, who says, I think I made that cowl a couple of years ago for my sister. You might have. If you did, definitely dig it up and come on over and share it in the community. We'd love to see. All right. Okay, everybody. Peace, love, crochet. Thanks so much for checking in. Thanks for being part of the American Crochet Association and helping to make groups and spaces like this feel like a community. All right. See you next time. Bye-bye.